If I were to say 1% of the days you could trade successfully, I would be overstating your odds of success. You literally have to find the 24 hours out of 365 days when the market moves, and you will be wrong 99+% of the time if you trade. You're going to sit here and Bitcoin's going to be whatever it's going to be, and then one day you're going to wake up and it's going to double. And if you miss that day, you're going to be kicking yourself. HODL, don't trade. Most people destroy themselves by thinking that they actually can time the market. This is a chart as of about a month ago, and what it shows is year to date, 1% of the companies in the S&P index had all the gain. If you look at this chart this week, there are 493 companies in the S&P index that have collectively 0% return, and there are 7 that have 50% return. And another way to say that is 99% of the companies cannot keep up with inflation. You think you're going to pick stocks? You're going to pick the winner? There's a 99% chance you won't. And maybe there's a bigger idea here, which is if you have one of the greatest companies in the world, there's a 99% chance after 100 years of being great, you still can't keep up with inflation. And this is why I say maybe your hard work doesn't matter as much as government policy matters. You're not going to find the winner 99% of the time. And you remember I've said before, diversification, it's selling the winner to buy the loser. Right? All these really brilliant investors that diversify, if they're smart enough to buy Apple or Amazon, when they diversify, they go from 44% return to 10% return. And if you manage to get it right, you may be the 0% return. So that leads us to the question, what is money? Investment assets aren't working so well. What is money? Well, in theory, money is a way for you to store your economic energy and not have it stolen from you by the government, by a bad investment decision, right? Perfect money is, in fact, the solution to all your problems. But what is good money? Gold has been an aspirational money, but it's defective. And the reason gold is defective is because we keep creating more of it, and you can't custody it. And so if I keep creating 2 or 3% more, then that means that the half-life of your economic energy in gold is 35 years. It means every 35 years, your money is cut in half, or the value of your wealth is cut in half. The only way to make gold perfect is to stop mining it and make it possible to teleport and carry around in your head. And of course, this is not happening with gold. It is difficult to create sound money. How difficult? Well, Bitcoin has gotten 50 trillion times more difficult to mine since it was formed. 50 trillion. Now, what is that telling you? Well, for the money to be sound, I have to cap the supply. And in order to cap the supply, I have to make it exponentially more difficult to create it. And human beings in this small corner of the world, Bitcoiners, who have been ignored, they figured out how to create 50 trillion times more work in those 14 years. That's what you're fighting against. And that's why commodities make awful money. That's why anything that can be produced with human intellect and capital will always be awful money, because you're betting against human intellect. I'm going to actually store my money in something that you can make more of, and I'm going to bet you're too stupid to make more of it. Okay, that's an awful bet. Somebody somewhere with less money than you has a lot of time on their hand to figure out how to get your money. That's why you need something like the difficulty adjustment, and that's why it's so difficult to create sound money. Bitcoin is sound money. Now, people around the world use all sorts of assets in order to store their economic energy. all these monetary assets have a different natural frequency. For example, oil gets produced with a stock-to-flow ratio which is extremely low. The Argentine peso is doubling in supply every 1-2 years. Silver is growing at a fairly rapid rate. When the dollar inflates at 7% a year, that means that over the course of 10 years, you double the supply of the dollars. So therefore, the half-life of money in a dollar is 10 years. As the stock-to-flow ratio goes up, the half-life in the money goes up. The natural frequency slows down. Gold has a half-life of 35 years. Obviously, gold is a better money than the peso. It's a better money than soybeans. But now you see, the real key is, what is the natural frequency of the asset? And what's brilliant about Bitcoin is it started with a higher frequency, but that natural frequency is going to infinity. It's becoming a very low frequency money. Next year, after the halving, stock to flow is 120. The half-life of your economic energy in the money of Bitcoin goes to 100 years. In the year 2036, the half-life of your economic energy in Bitcoin becomes 1,000 years. In 2048, the half-life of your economic energy in Bitcoin is 10,000 years. Now, politicians want to tell you that this is impossible. Commodities and nature tells you this is impossible. But look at my chart here. In your lifetime, there is one asset that has a long enough frequency that you can actually expect to keep your money forever. This is economic immortality. When flow goes to zero, stock to flow goes to infinity, the money lasts forever. If the money lasts forever, you have hope. What is money? Perfect money is a way to escape the misery of the economic war that is depriving you, your family, and your company of 99.9% of everything you have with absolute certainty. And there is no amount of work, and there is no amount of trading, no amount of thinking that is going to escape this reality. You're going to have to find this solution.